Hello and welcome to another episode of Toonami Pre-Flight, our 29th in a series of undetermined numbers. I am Gil Austin and I am joined by...
Jason DeMarco.
And today we are going to be talking He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, both old and new, but primarily new being 13 years ago. We are going to be talking about some of our favorite stories in video games. We will have a sneak peek look at this coming week's interstitial, and we will have a piece from Dana of DanaCon, a look both forward and backwards at DragonCon. But let's start off with He-Man ampersand the Masters of the Universe, which we've been up there. But we premiered He-Man and the Masters of the Universe in 2002, we being Toonami.
Yeah.
Then it moved to us showing it, we being you and I, on the Saturday video entertainment system.
Yep.
And then back to Toonami when Toonami moved into Saturday nights.
Right.
So
when they moved Toonami into the SVES slot, yeah.
So it was sort of always with us and not always with Toonami. It was a weird, in my mind, a weird way to show it because we showed new episodes on Friday and then we would strip it during the week.
It was dumb.
I don't know how you would, as a viewer, if you watched He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, did you ever know what was going on? It seemed like a weird way to do it.
Once you watch the show, you realize it doesn't really matter anymore. I mean, what I can't remember is if it was a Cartoon Network co-production.
I believe it was. It started off with a movie.
Yeah, an hour and a half movie that was broken into 3 episodes later.
Which we then showed Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then I don't know what we did Thursday. I guess it was the first episode again, and then a new episode for the fourth one.
Fast-forwarded through it again.
But anyway, fairly confusing programming schedule.
So it lasted 39
episodes,
and then met its end as the shortest-lived of the various He-Man series, including the spin-off She-Ra and the first reboot of He-Man where he's in outer space.
Did you watch the mid-'80s He-Man when you were a lad?
I did. I have to say that I never particularly liked He-Man that much. Like, it was pretty obvious, even because I was older. It was like in 80, 81.
I think it was more like 80.
The toys came out in 80, 81, and then maybe the show was later. But I was old enough that I kind of already could see that they reused a lot of animation, and like it was a pretty blatant like toy thing. I mean, I do like the story of how He-Man was created was basically because Mattel passed on Star Wars toys, like we don't need that, and that was obviously a huge mistake that ultimately cost them
how many people's
billions
careers
of dollars.
Do you think was adversely affected by the one decision to let George Lucas control the merchandising rights for Star Wars?
I mean, I don't know.
He obviously then impacted thousands of more people's lives, and then dozens of people lost their jobs over a seemingly smart business decision at the time. Poor bastard.
But He-Man was greenlit by the head of Mattel because they were looking for something to make a dent in the ubiquitous Star Wars toy market. And they were there's a little bit of a story that they were developing toys for Conan, I guess, before the Conan came out, and it's a totally R-rated movie. But so they just sort of took what they wanted from Conan and made these Conan-like toys and picked a guy that was essentially a barbarian. And then in typical 80s fashion, they created a show based around him in which all the characters really only exist to sell their particular toy. And it was
sometimes accessories and vehicles and
it was a wildly successful toy line, and the show itself only aired for like 2-3 years, but they had like 100 and some odd episodes.
I mean, I had several of the toys, Ram Man being the most fun to play with.
Sure,
but
no doubt
the show. I liked the show.
I preferred Beast Man.
I didn't love it. It was not
my brothers liked it.
Appointment viewing, but it was fun.
My brothers liked it, and they watched it every day, so I saw a lot of it. And then She-Ra was the spin-off that was his sister. And basically, it's a fantasy land in which a main character... It's like basically a Clark Kent character where he has an alter ego, Adam, Prince Adam, who's a total wimp who pretends to be a coward, and he's always running off to turn into He-Man and then kick everybody's ass. And
which seems like why wouldn't you just, if you're the prince, why wouldn't you just be He-Man all the time?
When I was reading about this, a lot of people brought this up, which I think is hilarious. They brought up like why does he even have a secret identity? Skeletor's attacking him all the time, and everyone he knows. It's not like they don't know where he lives. Like, they don't know it's him, but they still want the castle that Prince Adam lives in, and they want to take over Castle Grayskull.
Yeah, all you're doing is playing yourself out from time to time. You could just be... maybe being He-Man all the time is too wearisome? I don't know.
But anyway, I just think He-Man has sides. But the new He-Man...
Sad Man.
So the new He-Man is an attempt to reboot this for what was then in 2002 the modern era, and actually, as compared, we were talking about this, as compared to the Thundercats reboot, this is pretty not good. Like,
it looks good.
It looks a lot better, and they've taken some influences from anime in terms
He-Man's been working out.
In terms of the direction, I don't know, he's kind of always been buff, but in terms of the direction and the animation, they took a few keys from anime. It's a very action-heavy show. Weirdly, they left Orko...
plot-heavy show.
They left Orko super annoying, and he was annoying in the old one. And I was just like, why would you... So the most interesting change, and then we'll show our promo for this, to me... from the original, is that Prince Adam in this is a 16-year-old kid who's not a wimp or pretending to be a coward. He's just a douche. Like, he's just an asshole. And that's, like, the whole thing. Like, he walks around like, whatever, my dad's the king. I don't need to be He-Man. Like, when he first is offered to turn into He-Man, he actually thinks it's a joke and walks away from the sorceress like, psh, later, folks. I ain't got time for this. And
which is probably the most realistic thing that, like, if you actually were a royal, I think that would be your reaction.
Maybe
like,
if royals are assholes, I would be He-Man. But
well, yeah, because you're still hungry.
Yeah. But so now it's sort of like a Shazam thing, because he's 16, and then when he turns into He-Man, he's this big buff adult person, but with the brain of a 16-year-old. But the weird thing about this show is they didn't change any of the goofy, like, everyone still talks like this, even though it's like 2002 was like, we had all moved on. So I'm not surprised that...
Really not all of us.
And they recreated all the characters, but they didn't really make too many new ones. Like, they just redid everybody and relaunched the toy line. So I think my feeling is He-Man will be rebooted again, and it will probably be done better, because this was a little rough. But let's check out our promo. We did our best. We were not given a choice in airing this show. We were told, here's the show. You're premiering it. Good luck. So we made a whole bunch of promos for it.
And character spots and... the movie spot, then TV spot, the super confusing trying to explain how we're showing it spot with the 12-second in page, which I think is this spot, right?
I don't know. I think so. So this is I wrote this promo and tried to make this feel like a big deal, because the network was really focused on it, because it was an original cartoon basically launching.
Right. So toy line.
Yeah, I don't know how well we did, but
sky's the limit.
Let's check it out.
The land of Eternia is a paradise with a problem. An act of betrayal has created the ultimate evil. My face! And his name is Skeletor.
Eternia will be mine!
Battle position! The only thing that can stop his evil horde is a legend no one believes in.
A hero shall emerge.
And a prince with an attitude.
All this battle training is just fun and games.
Now, a sword will choose its master. A boy will become a man. I have the power! And a hero will be born. Toonami is proud to present He-Man like you've never seen him before in an all-new original movie, Masters of the Universe. Next Friday at 4. Only Toonami.
Yeah, so that's the spot for the movie, quote unquote.
Look, we don't lie to you guys much, but we were lying when we said Toonami is proud to present. We don't lie often, but sometimes you got to do what oh, sorry, that was my phone. We don't lie often, but
that's you being fired.
Sometimes you got that was the firing noise. We don't lie often, but sometimes sometimes you got to take one for the team, and we were not proud to present that, but we presented it.
Yeah. Robot Chicken was proud to present their interpretation.
Yes, so this is a good opportunity for me, and I don't know about for you, but for me, there's a great deal of nostalgia surrounding He-Man and the live-action Masters of the Universe movie starring Dolph Lundgren,
which is great.
And I think it will come back, because especially nowadays in our nostalgic times, reboots are more and more common. I've never really given a shit about He-Man, and I don't think I will.
That should be, if it comes back and it's on Toonami, you should definitely write the spot, and that should be the tagline.
If it comes back and they do,
shit.
if it comes back and they do what they did with the Thundercats reboot, I'm totally down. I think there's enough there. Like Skeletor is one of the greatest villains.
Yeah.
In cartoons,
and that show looks great.
It's just like Skeletor has no real depth, but there's something totally compelling about him and hilarious about him at the same time, and that he has a bulldog. But anyway, so I think Robot Chicken in this instance really they've done multiple He-Man skits because it's so rich
so many
for
toys
comedy. There's so much to make fun of. So we're just going to show one of our favorite Robot Chicken He-Man skits, just because. Why not?
Sure.
Behold, an invitation to King Randa's birthday party. This is our chance to conquer Castle Grayskull once and for all.
I'm sure we're not on the guest list, Skeletor.
Of course not, you stupid. But what if we had a magical clone of He-Man?
Well, I suppose, hypothetically.
We do. We have a magical clone of He-Man.
Da-da-da-da!
What the hell is this, Beastman? He's blue.
Well, I'm half dog. Everything's shades of grey to me. Me, He-Man!
And his personal pronouns are all f***ed up. Where's the verb in that sentence? Gah! I'm a gambler.
That's the thing about feudal agriculture. Hey, just who the heck do you think you...
Out my way, homo!
He hit that nail on the head.
He-Man! What a pleasant surprise. We weren't expecting you.
Nice boobies.
Oh! Oh my. Thank you, He-Man.
He-Man, you look cold. I brought you some piping hot coffee. My eyes are blistery white.
We'll see about this.
You hear that? Faker must be going all blood crazy on their asses.
What did I miss?
He-Man pulled the stick out of his butt and he's whipping this party's ass with it. Woo!
What the hell, man? Well, what do you have to say for yourself?
Oh, poopy.
Hey, everybody! I'm here! It's me, the real He-Man! Those were my arch enemies! How dare you!
He-Mans?
Wouldn't the plural be he-men?
Which one is the real He-Man? Citizens of Eternia, I am shocked at this behavior. Excessive violence? Binge drinking? Haven't I set a better example than that?
You stink!
This He-Man sure sucks the fun out of a room.
You're ruining my party! Look, I'll make this simple. Everyone who thinks this is the real He-Man, raise your hands. Everyone who thinks this is the real He-Man, raise your hands. Well, then it's settled. Let's have a party! Don't you dance, dance, dance! Oh yeah, I boogie, boogie! Dance, dance, dance!
Well done, Prince Adam.
Ooh, Prince Adam. Oops! Boogie, boogie, boogie!
So, highly amusing to me.
Well done.
It wasn't that like that was an alternate He-Man figure that actually came out, right? I think.
I don't remember
I'm
what
pretty
thing.
sure. Yeah, it was like an alternate version. And then just to close out He-Man, I thought we could show the original He-Man opening because it's iconic and hilarious. And
In
one
a
of those great 80s openings.
Sort of earnest way.
Yeah, that just kind of explains what you need to know. So when the show comes on, the opening tells you, here's the deal, and then you can watch any episode you want.
It's like Law and Order.
And the masters of the universe. I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said, "By the power of Grayskull!" Cringer became the mighty Battle Cat, and I became He-Man, the most powerful man in the universe. Only 3 others share this secret. Our friends, the Sorceress, Man-at-Arms, and Orko. Together we defend Castle Grayskull from the evil Masters of the Universe.
1983.
Yeah, I like the punch at the camera.
Hey,
I'm
man.
the most powerful. Get out of my way.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason those shows took off isn't really much of a shock. That or She-Ra. I mean, they're pretty good empowerment fantasies. They live normal lives, and then they have one weapon that turns them into something greater. So if you're a kid, you just hold the toy sword and play with your
get
toys,
your
and
broomstick, and
suddenly your cat is
He-Man.
Battle Cat. You know, Cringer. I noticed. Cringer talks in the old He-Mans. In the new one, he's just sort of like a Scooby character in the one we aired.
I didn't remember that.
He's like a like he doesn't, but he doesn't say anything. But in both things, upon turning into He-Man, He-Man's first move is to point his sword at his pet and turn it
electrify him.
Yeah, turn it into a giant killing
excellence.
machine. So yeah, that's He-Man. Departed, not quite dearly. And we'll surely be back for more adventures.
Yeah, hopefully bigger and stronger and better than
I
ever.
don't know if he can get any bigger, but yeah.
Maybe.
So let's move on to our question of the week, which I think Gil is going to go first.
Yeah, which is, what's the best story in a video game? And some of our picks for best story in a video game. I have 3. I believe you also have 3.
Mm-hmm.
My first pick is Braid, which is a terrible pick.
Seminal.
Terrible pick for this, because the only way to really say why it's a good story is to ruin the story and talk about the very ending of the game, which I'm not going to do entirely. But it's...
Why not?
Because if you want to play it and you haven't played it before, then it's ruined.
Just say the word spoiler alert and somebody can
Okay,
look away.
spoiler alert.
Yeah.
Look away. Mute it.
The game's
for
been out for years.
45 seconds.
Spoilers are null and void.
You start off as Tim, and everyone in the room is
Sauron
covering
doesn't
their...
get the One Ring.
Great. Well, I know what I'm not doing
Spoiler,
tonight.
Darth Vader is Luke's dad.
So you play... The game is sort of manipulating time, and the levels are all based on that aspect. So you're trying to find this princess. You are this hero, Tim, and she's been taken by some monster. I think his name's Tim. Yeah, very heroic name. But so as you play through the levels, you sort of die and replay them, and you figure it out, and it's a giant 3D puzzle game, and it's really well done. The last level of the game, spoiler alert, you realize you play that level in reverse, and you finally get to the princess, and you're playing the beginning of the game backwards, and it turns out that you have been the monster that she's running from the whole time. But it was a really cool ending, and it was really well done. It was a great game. I had a lot of fun playing it, and I thought it was a cool way to make that ending story and sort of do that, like, moment, which is done in a lot of games, but I thought this was done really well, and was... People had somewhat of a beef that it was not... It was an independent game, and I played on Xbox Live. I'm sure it was Steam as well. But that it was relatively expensive for what it was. But
Oh, really? I don't remember that beef.
It was like...
something people talked about.
I think it was like $20, and it's not a super long game. And for like arcade Steam games, it's not $4.99 or $9.99 or whatever. But I thought it was great, and I'm sure it's free now. So totally check it out if you haven't already played it. And now you can start unmuting again. We have... Oh, I guess we could play the...
Do we have a clip?
We have the
from Braid?
trailer from Braid, which I think does not spoiler it. So let's check out the trailer, and then we can talk about the next one.
So when did... Oh, it came out in 2008
Yeah, and
for Xbox Live.
the creator, Jonathan Blow, has a new game. It's supposed to be coming out
Soon.
now, this year. I guess we're sort of running out of time.
Jonathan Blow.
The Witness is his new game.
I like Braid. I don't like it as much as you do.
Because you never finished it.
It didn't grab me as much as it does you. I thought it was really inventive, but I didn't get as into it as you did.
Yeah.
I wasn't into I'm not into Jonathan Blow's whole faux deep thing that he does, but
Cool. Well,
I like that he's an independent developer and that he made a game that basically... I think the important thing about Braid is going to end up being that it was one of the first indie games that was a big, huge success and sort of paved the way for more indie games, and I think in that way it's an important game.
noted. My next choice is, I guess it's Portal, the game.
You guess it's Portal?
Well, no, it's definitely Portal. I played this...
I guess it's Portal?
I played this with the release of the Orange Box from Valve, and that was the initial release of the game, right? That's what I was trying to think.
I think it came out with the Orange Box, or like right around there, but it was basically a little extra thing they threw together.
They had made it as... Or I guess they had developed it based on a grad school project, and they had, I think, released it with the Orange Box. I don't think it was released before that point. But we have, I think, the trailer for Portal as well, so let's play that, and then we can talk a little bit more about Portal.
Welcome to the Aperture Science Enrichment Center. Let's look at some of the challenges you'll face as a test participant. You may be required to perform simple tasks, such as locating an exit. These simple tasks may be supplemented with insurmountable obstacles. Thanks to the Aperture Science handheld portal device, the impossible is easy. Let's look at a real-world example. Certain objects may be vital to your success. If at first you don't succeed, you fail, and the test will be terminated. When stuck, remember our motto: there's a hole in the sky through which things can fly. At the Enrichment Center, we believe that a highly motivated test subject can carry out rather complex tasks while enduring the most intense pain. So in case you don't make it through the testing, goodbye. This next test is impossible. Now you're thinking with portals.
So yeah, that came out in 2007, and the mechanics of that game are great. It's super fun puzzle game, and I think the writing is really good. And then the story, again, spoiler alert, it turns out it's not just a test of just fun, happy times.
Is that what you find out? You find that out in Portal, and then Portal 2 expands it way more.
Yeah, so Portal 2 is arguably a better game, and potentially a better story, but it's also
inarguably.
But I don't think so. I like Portal better because you've sort of been down that road and you know sort of from the beginning what's happening. Whereas in Portal, you start and you really have no clue at all what you're supposed to be doing, what's going to be happening, and they do a really good job of introducing the sort of characters in the game and then the different mechanics. And I think it's super fun and a fun story and really well written, and it's one of my favorite stories in a video game. My all-time favorite story in a video game, and I think this will officially retire this game from
all
video
discussion.
game talking for at least me from here on out, will be The Last of Us, which I have spoken at length about before. Look at that sweet, desolate, totally post-apocalyptic landscape. So we also have the trailer for The Last of Us, and let's watch the trailer, and then I don't think there's really anything else we need to talk about Last of Us, but we can see if there is.
How is it that you're never scared?
Who says that I'm not?
What are you scared of?
Do I need to remind you what is out there?
Once upon a time, I had somebody that I cared about. And in this world, that sort of good for one thing. Get you killed.
I need something smuggled out of the city.
Jesus Christ.
Just cargo, Joel. How do you know them?
I just want some simple gear enough to set me on my way.
I reckon it's got something to do with that girl.
It's got everything to do with that little girl.
Can't be any worse than in here. Can it? People, Joel, it's been that way for a long time.
No, we are survivors.
This is our chance.
It is over, Tess!
What are you so afraid of?
You're treading on some mighty thin ice here.
What do we do?
You make every shot count.
You see, I believe everything happens for a reason.
We don't have to do this. You know that, right?
After all we've been through. Everything that I've done. It can't be for nothing.
Awesome. So that was 2013 Naughty Dog for PS3 and then the remaster for PS4. Great game, great story, great everything. If you haven't played it, play it. Check it out. Jason.
Okay. So my first pick for out of my three best story in video games is BioShock, which really, I don't know that it influenced many other games, but it had a big impact in terms of the gaming community they just freaked out about it. I really like the story of the game in that it sort of concerns, like, it happens in the 60s, which in and of itself is an unusual time period for a game to be set in. And it's basically, there's an underwater utopia created by this guy who's essentially an Ayn Randian type of philosopher, intellect guy. And he wanted to create a place where scientists and people could move unfettered from government and traditional morals.
What could go wrong?
And so you end up you're a guy who crash lands in the ocean, and you end up waking up basically inside this facility, which has gone wrong because of genetic experiments that allowed them to people started freaking out, and the underclass rose up, and there was a revolution, and now it's a ruined, sort of failed area, and you're wandering through it, making your way to try to figure out exactly what happened. And I just think the game mechanics are really cool. The story is really interesting and has a really great twist that's probably one of the better twists in video game history.
Definitely.
And it's sort of like Deus Ex in that it's a first-person shooter with some RPG elements.
And magic powers.
Yeah, you learn things called phasmids or something. But you learn plasmas or whatever they're called. You have you have basically DNA that you inject yourself with that gives you sort of genetically enhanced abilities, psionics and stuff, and you're fighting these other genetically enhanced monsters, and you can choose to save these particular dolls that are wandering around or kill them and absorb their energy. So it's like
Sean probably did.
It's I do like that it's a game that sort of reveals its world slowly, and it's a very unusual steampunk cool world. that's sort of like nothing that's been seen before in a video game. And I also like that it says a lot about it. I mean, it deals with a lot of moral questions, which a lot of games don't bother with, and philosophical stuff, but not in a way that you have to engage with it.
Right.
If you want to, you could just go through and kill everything, which I appreciate.
Sure. Yeah, there's a lot of different ways you can play, and then if you want to hear more about the story, they have the little recordings. And
Yeah.
You can just
throw
them in the
that
trash
while
if you don't want to.
Yeah, while you're walking around. So let's look at I believe I have a trailer for BioShock. So let's check that out.
Somewhere beyond the sea, somewhere waiting for me. My lover stands on golden sands and watches the ships that go sailing.
For mature. So yeah, that gives you more of an idea of what the gameplay looks like than really the story. But it's a great game, and the sequel was pretty good. The sequel sort of took place in an air city, like a floating city, as opposed to underwater. It wasn't. I don't think the sequel was as good as the original, but overall, a great game.
Yeah. Good job.
My second choice is maybe a weird one because it doesn't actually have that much story, but I think it's a great example of how reducing the amount of detail you get will create a more evocative story as long as the elements that you leave remaining are strong. And that is Ico, which we actually reviewed for Toonami, but the review was pre the days where everyone recorded our stuff, so there's no proof that I could find on the internet, and I don't know where the tape is, but we did a review of this game, and I remember Gil and I, when the game came out, we both loved it.
Yeah.
But no one bought it. Like, it was beyond a flop. And I remember, didn't we read that 15,000 people bought the game or something?
I still have
like
my original PS2 disc somewhere.
Something like 15,000 people bought the game, and we laughed that we were one of them, but we did a review for millions of people. So the story of Ico is basically you wake up and Ico is the main character, and he is a boy who has horns. So the warriors from his village basically lock him in this mausoleum to die, because that's what they do. They just sacrifice. So the thing he's in falls over, the coffin he's in essentially, and he wakes up, and then he finds this princess and frees her. And so most of the game is you spent navigating the castle trying to help the princess, and then you find out that the queen of the castle basically is evil, and she wants to absorb her daughter's life so that she can be reincarnated and go on living. And so you as Ico basically are fighting the empresses or queen's minions while trying to save the princess. And it's just there's not a lot of detail. There's no basically the game designers, sort of like Jonathan Blow, he's kind of an auteur, and he decided to have a lot of people working on the game that weren't from the games industry, and so it ignores a lot of conventions. There's no health bar, there's none of the obvious heads-up display. Like, he just wanted it to be to experience the story. And the story itself, you don't get a lot of details as to why anything's happening, but I think it's a great example of you don't need to know why everything's happening to be able to get a feeling, for it to evoke some emotion. Because it's one of the most memorable games I've played. As it turns out, I found out later, Shadow of the Colossus, which was his next game, which we also reviewed, is a prequel to Ico, because the Ico is in the game at the end of Shadow of the Colossus.
I didn't remember that.
Yeah, I just read about it. So we don't have our Toonami review, but here's a clip of Ico that we have. So check it out. So Ico, the designer is Fumito Ueda, who actually did that and Shadow of the Colossus, and he's working on another game which is supposed to release next year. It's been like 6 years in the making. He takes forever to make his games, but they're always very memorable. I look at Ico and Shadow of the Colossus as some of the better examples of how video games can be art. It's a lot about their treatment of atmosphere and story, and actually not trying to be movies, which most video games that want to tell stories try to tell it cinematically, because that's a language we all know, I think. But Ico ignores that and tells the story environmentally. Like, you learn things by doing them, by being a part of the environment, and that's how you get the context of what's happening.
And then you don't have to skip a bunch of cutscenes, too.
Yeah, as opposed to sitting there and watching a movie and then you're playing a movie. So, Ico, my final best video game story is really for a group of games, but we'll just talk about them in general. And that's Fallout, the Fallout series, which I'm a big lover of post-apocalyptic scenarios in entertainment. And I played the original Fallout back in the day when it came out and was completely blown away, and then have played every single Fallout game released since. Fallout 2, Brotherhood of Steel, the Tactics Fallout, and then, of course, Fallout 3 and New Vegas. Very much looking forward to the new Fallout. So basically, Fallout is your standard post-apocalyptic setting in which its technology is pretty advanced before things happen, but eventually there's a nuclear war, and every Fallout game starts with the prologue with, originally it was Ron Perlman, I don't know if it still is, but I think
it is.
But it's
he's in the spots for the new one anyway.
Him saying war never changes is always the beginning. And they usually give you a little newsreel footage and show you that, there's been a nuclear holocaust. People knew it was coming, so they had prepared themselves by building these giant vaults. And so this game takes place, the first Fallout takes place in like 2161 or something. So it's several hundred years after the nuclear apocalypse, and the vaults are starting to be opened because people are essentially finally running out of supplies in their vaults, or they're just curious to see if there's sustainable life anywhere. So you usually play a vault dweller, like someone who's leaving the vault for the first time, going out into the larger world. And it's always it's a fascinating, there's like different tribes, there's different people who worship like nuclear bombs, and there's tons of irradiated, mutated monsters, and there are these guys called the Brotherhood of Steel, they worship technology basically and collect technology. So there's all these fascinating developments which are pretty, like, if you think about what might happen hundreds of years after a nuclear holocaust, they make as much sense as anything else.
Yeah, I mean, it's the 50s duck and cover sort of, if time didn't advance beyond that, even though it sort of has technologically, but not in terms of culturally.
Yeah, that's the other thing Fallout has that's great, is it has a very definite sense of humor, and a lot of it is around the elements of the game that are the surviving in the vault, and like what they call the Pip-Boy, which is the thing that you have on your arm the whole time that's sort of a personal data recorder.
Soon.
But yeah, that's all 50s style. Like, right, it's all duck and cover style, even though technology's advanced way farther than that. I think the game creators thought it would be funny that what if technology was super advanced, but the way we approach it was still that idealistic 50s, like all technology is good. Nothing's bad.
Fake cities that are set up as test grounds.
Yeah.
All that.
And they're all like, it's okay if you're irradiated, just take some rat away. So the big news for Fallout fans is that Fallout 4 is coming out in a couple short months, and it is from the creators of Skyrim and the other Fallout, the last two Fallout games, which made a wonderful transition. Fallout started as an isometric top-down game, which was very popular for its time in the 90s, and has turned into a first-person shooter RPG hybrid.
Why would you play a third person?
It's turned into a hybrid first-person RPG, third-person game. So it's very much an action game with RPG elements now, or an RPG with action elements. And it's moved away from its isometric beginnings, but in a good, successful way. It's really immersive. Every Fallout game that's come out has been sort of a huge critical success, and I'm looking forward to the new one. So
for sure,
why don't we show the trailer for Fallout 4?
but the cry.
With the world poised on the brink of war, Vault-Tec is reporting a record number. Folks, it seems we've got some breaking news. Stand by.
It's all over. No, I'm trying to forget about how much I care for you.
We seem to have lost contact with our affiliate stations. Stand by. We do have coming in confirmed reports of nuclear detonation. My God. Our soldiers were right. War never changes.
Let's go, pal.
Yes.
So that will be out November 10th of this year. I'm very excited to continue the Fallout story.
Humping that game.
So that wraps up my 3 choices for best video game story. Let's go to our results for the Adult Swim Facebook page, see what fans thought. The Last of Us, number 1, of course. Metal Gear Solid. I saw a lot of Metal Gears, and I don't know.
I love those games. Those stories are
I kind of take exception to that. The story of Metal Gear really is a mess.
Final Fantasy VII.
Sure. Cool story. Mass Effect games, really great stories.
Legends of Zelda.
The Zelda games always have a great backstory, I think.
Totally.
So good choices. No jokies on the Adult Swim Facebook this week. And for the Toonami Facebook picks,
which is facebook.com/Toonami. Always your best bet to find whatever we're talking about on Facebook. Metal Gear Solid, Kingdom Hearts,
yeah, sure, whatever.
Legend of Dragoon,
I don't understand why that keeps showing up, other than, I guess, 90s kids, but that game's story isn't that great.
Halo
games do have a good story. I think the Halo people love the story a lot, and
sure.
Fans do too. And then Zelda. So some similar choices, but the Toonami ones are a little less broad, I guess. Maybe a little.
I don't know. I mean, Legend of Dragoon certainly more dialed
Kingdom
into
Hearts.
Kingdom Hearts. Yeah.
Well, thank you for letting us know your favorite stories in video games, and we'll
stay tuned for 3 more of ours at a later point as we
we'll
run out of
this
things
again.
to talk about.
Yeah. So for now, let's go to
our sneak peek for this coming Saturday night. This will run in DBZ Kai. This is a Criminal Threats that Sarah edited, which if you are new to Toonami, odds are you're not watching this show, but Criminal Threats is our sort of, I guess, evergreen brand campaign would be the douche way to explain it. So let's check out this 60-second Criminal Threats spot.
We won't be intimidated by criminal threats.
Be careful. You've entered enemy territory, you know.
Every Saturday night at midnight, Adult Swim's building you a better cartoon show.
I'm here to eliminate you. Good luck with that.
We call it Toonami.
They're coming. I can smell them. From what direction? From every direction.
It's hard work, keeping such raw power tied to a leash.
Rise and shine!
Where do you want to feel pain next?
You got no clue who you picked a fight with here, do you? Bad move.
Please spare me!
I won't stop until I bring you down, you hear me?
Go on then, do your worst.
Prepare yourself to embrace oblivion!
There's nothing wrong with an occasional show of force.
So yeah, this coming week, thank you, Sarah, for another amazing Criminal Threats cut in a series of 7,000.
It's probably her 100th criminal threat she's done. I mean, maybe not 100, but like
pretty close.
In the 50s at least.
And lastly, I haven't turned the page on my rundown, is our look at DanaCon. Dana's look at DanaCon inside Dana's looking at...
Dana went to Dragon Con and did a thing about it.
So this is before Dragon Con, based on her many years' experience of Dragon Con, a look forward and backwards. So let's check it out. DanaCon.
Hey, Toonami faithful. Do you have anything in my teeth? I've been eating kale chips. I've got a blue light on me to simulate that I am Sarah. So I'm here today to talk about Dragon Con. It's the small Atlanta hometown convention that keeps getting bigger. Now it's not so small, but it's still here in Atlanta, where William Street is. So this is spanned to 5 hotels within downtown Atlanta, a part of Atlanta that nobody hangs out in other than Dragon Con. It's just Convention City. Also an America's Mart, where all of the dealers' rooms are. So what does that mean? If it's in hotels, what does that mean? People stay in the hotels, they go upstairs and take off one costume, they come back downstairs in a more elaborate costume for a different event. So maybe you were Poison Ivy and you were like, oh, I'm itchy, and so you go upstairs and you gotta go get your Minecraft group costume together for the bar crawl at 8. How it is. So this is not my term, but it's an accurate one for the dragoning. This place is cosplay Armageddon. People look amazing. You do a Google search, just check out these costumes. Bam! Boom, bam, there's that one. Cool. You can even play fun games like count the costumes. Sometimes people kind of have a similar group mind about things. Some popular ones in the past that I've counted on my phone. Khaleesi, women dressed as Jareth. Lilu from Fifth Element. Person wearing a Jane hat. This year I predict a lot of Suicide Squad and Mad Maxinistas. Yep, people who went to TJ Maxx to dress as Mad Max. That's a bad joke. This is a con where it's easy to walk and gawk without a badge, even though they've tightened up security in some of the areas. Lots of Atlanta people just come to the city to hang and see what's going on, grab a drink, look around, watch the parade. So I know what you're thinking. You're like, cosplay and hanging out's great, Dana, but what else is there? So much. The Artist Alley rules. So many great artists come in. There's displays, there's stuff to buy, there's great panels, so many panels. Lots of weird events like light speed dating, there's filking, there's LARPing, there's PF and DD5 and MTG. It's a great place to meet some of your heroes, which I've definitely done. I've met people that my cats are named after. There's shorter waits to talk to people or to do a fun photo shoot. Some of my favorite past memories from Dragon Con include winding up in Terry Gilliam's hotel suite while Terry Gilliam wasn't there and using his microwave. Finding stupid adventures. Some hot tips to remember for next year. Don't depend so much on your phone because you probably won't have service and the app is really buggy. You also might not be able to text your friends, so come up with a good meeting place. Also, the best day to go shopping is on Monday. Nobody's there. It's so light and you can see everything and people are selling stuff cheap because they gotta get back to Branson. It's really fun to sit on panels that you know nothing about. This is a very, very fun, fan-run convention. So you may even get like an opportunity to express yourself without having to wait in line. It's totally cool. So I'm going to read off some panels that I found that maybe you went to, because this is Tuesday after Dragon Con hangover. What you eat might eat your brain. Tropes in YA, aka young adult literature. A beginner's guide to alternate history, steampunk, and other subgenres. Also, some people host game shows as characters from their bands. Oh, what's the best thing at Dragon Con this year? Is it Adult Swim came back. We're doing a couple Adult Swim Presents panels, including the Toonami panel. It was the best. What did we talk about? Was I even on the panel? I guess I'll know by the time this airs. Back to you, my favorite dragons, Jason and Gil. This is Dana.
So yeah,
Jason.
Dana, myself, and Jason had a Toonami panel at Dragon Con where we announced some stuff. Check it out. The announcements. You can't actually check out the panel if you weren't there. But if you came out, thank you very much. And thank you very much, Dana, for your Dana Conning, a second in a series of con looks. That will wrap up our 29th episode. We hope to see you this coming Saturday night from midnight to 3:30 a.m. And we will see you next week. Tuesday, 5 p.m. is still the premieres, and these episodes will run amongst our weekly stripped show marathon. So hopefully you're enjoying the new...
reruns at 5, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So reruns every day at 5 ET. So
premieres at Tuesday, which if you're seeing this,
it's not
probably already know.
Not at all confusing.
Just hope eventually they cut away from us and we can...
Whoever managed to watch this one, thanks very much, and we appreciate your watching.
Bye.